Good evening, everyone. This is Layla.
And I'm Drew.
We're here with the Vocal Fry podcast.
This is where we talk about ideas and issues from more of a psychological perspective. And what did you want to talk about tonight?
Last week, at some point, you mentioned to me about time and how the time feels like it's getting so much faster.
Yeah, is it because I'm old, or do you think it's a real thing? I know definitely a lot of people say it's just as the older you get, time is speeding up.
Yeah, exactly. And I wonder about that too.
I think it's definitely got to be at least a small part of it, but it also to me does seem like the time is just flying. It's like the quickening. But obviously, as you're older, like a year when you're 40, it's like 1/40th of your life versus when you're 8, it's like 1/8 of your life. So it's gonna seem a lot. Time's gonna seem a lot slower when you're younger. But I do think there has to be some kind of explanation for why, especially these last few years. Even think maybe back to like 2012 or something. It seems like everything's rapidly accelerated, and at the same time, it seems to coincide with the invasion of the tech in everyone's life. What do you think about that?
See, I think it could potentially be both in the sense of I've seen a lot of news like the past few years about tech that's put out there that's meant to alter time. Like, I saw this theory about how clocks move from the analog to the digital because there's tech that's supposed to like nip a few minutes here and there every so often, but give you, the time, the quote unquote time that it is. So it feels like it's speeding up and they're stealing minutes and then eventually hours from you. I saw that one. And then I don't know if you can pull it up because I don't really remember.
What is it called? I'll look it up.
So there was that thing some people were raving about a while back, that Samsung TV that was supposed to erase your memory of a TV show so you could like
Yeah, I know what you're talking
yeah,
about.
you know what I'm talking about. So you could re-experience it.
But if time is speeding up, when you notice it though, in like the seasons and everything, eventually you would. If it truly was speeding up, you know what I mean?
Well, I
If
think
it
so.
wasn't natural.
Right, because I think so much of time is perception and the way things are presented to you in this way, like for example with this TV, is I'm going to say it's almost like a metaphor for what's happening on the inside. So they show you these articles about the time alteration and the tech they're making and this TV that's supposed to erase memories. So it's altering how you're perceiving something, right? So what I think it's obviously everything released in news and media is what's already happened. So it happened a long time ago under your nose, and eventually they release it to you in some just weird, bizarre news story.
Yeah, and if you're just listening to the audio of this later, maybe on the Conspiratainment Radio Network, come check us out on Chalkbodyoutline YouTube channel. But the thing I have on the screen now, it says, it talks about the TV that basically puts you under hypnosis with headphones. So you forget the TV show you seen, you can watch it again. It'll be like you've never seen it.
Right, and exactly, and you might be thinking like, okay, but what does that have to do with time? But I think it has a lot to do with the way we experience time, because time is so much about perception. And I think it's way more sinister that I don't genuinely believe they need to create tech like this in order to get these results. Because they already know how the neurochemistry fires in the human brain and they already have a vast knowledge of the psychology of the human brain.
Who's they?
The information controllers, the Illuminati, all the,
Just want to clarify it.
yeah, where the information is channeled from, basically. But I believe that they don't need to do things like this because of the knowledge they have about how the brain works. Like, they know what stimuli to give you to get you to react in a certain way, and we see that with a lot of the things we talk about here, like certain groups of people, they can feed them just a news story about some information, and you can already predict how that group of people is going to act based on that. And I think it's somewhat of the same idea in the sense of the tech itself, like the screen and the phone, you're looking at it all day. It's designed to cause dissociation in your brain. So you feel like you lost a chunk of time, but you really just been sitting there scrolling. Like, we were at Walmart the other day and we saw like 3 people in the parking lot just like engrossed in their phone walking into traffic, which is bad enough in and of
Yeah.
itself, but in the Walmart parking lot, that's like a whole nother level of just taking your life into your own hands.
So do you think this TV thing that they're talking about here in this article that makes you forget the TV show, do you think this is real or do you think it's like an allegory?
I think it's an allegory because I think what the TV is designed to do in the screen in any like form is meant to push your brain into that autopilot state. Because then, like, I remember with Netflix, the binge watching shows became like a big thing that got pushed everywhere. And then it circulated in memes,
Yeah.
the whole Netflix
I
and
just
chill.
saw that I just saw that meme the other day that was like I would never watch a 4 hour movie. It's just way too long, but I would watch, 8 half-hour episodes in one sitting of a Netflix series.
Yeah,
or whatever.
exactly. Which is
It's
way
true.
worse.
It's true though.
Yeah.
Yeah, people would say 4 hour movie, no way.
Yeah. But I think that's what that was about, is to cause that dissociation in you, because dissociation, when you're in that state, the way you perceive time is very altered and you will lose chunks of time. So I think a lot of how this works is based on that. And about like erasing your memories, because I've seen people like when that whole Samsung TV thing was going around, I saw people saying like, oh, if you have a Samsung phone and you're holding it, it's going to have probably the same technology that's going to like nip a thought or a memory here and there and alter it for you. But I think it's more to do with how everyone is just moving so fast in like the modern era that we're in now, and we're trained to just kind of fit into that 9 to 5 structure, and you're like always so busy moving to the next thing constantly, and then you have your phone on you and you're constantly checking that at the same time, and I think it just causes you to go into that autopilot state and lose chunks of your own time. And then memory is also just the whole like subject in and of itself, because that's just a weird thing that nobody really understands anyway.
Yeah, before we get into memory, if you want to get into that, I do have this other like science article up, and it does say like, according to science, they say days are speeding up nearly half of 1 millisecond shorter than a full 24 hours. But I think all these mainstream science things too are like allegories as well, that they need a way to explain certain concepts away or whatever. When you look at black holes and all this other stuff, I don't think it's just complete 100% hogwash. I think if you think it's a physical thing, it's probably not. It's more like a metaphysical construct they're trying to explain to you through an allegory.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think that's exactly what all that tech was that I saw like a while ago about the time and like the time altering tech. And I guess you can even apply that to the time travel tech too. There's a lot of things you can kind of like branch off into with that.
What time travel tech?
Well, yeah, exactly. But I just mean the way it's presented. Like, we have all this tech where, they can control time, but I think they don't need the tech to control time. They know what stimuli to feed the brain to alter the perception of time in the brain.
I see what you're saying. I think they do want to portray themselves as masters of time, time lords. Any Doctor Who fans? They're time lords, and I think they don't necessarily actually have to do what they're claiming to do. They just have to get the vast majority of people to believe that they can do what they say that they're doing. If they can do that, then they are the masters of time.
Yeah, right. And that's how they make it real. That's how they bring that to life.
Yeah, just like COVID, like you saw it firsthand. It doesn't matter what you think about it. I mean, we're on YouTube. I got to watch how I word it, but your life did change. Things changed, whether or not, no matter what you believe about it, because once the people believe in it, it becomes real.
Yeah, exactly. And all this too is not me discrediting that there could be some like phenomenon also related to what's going on in the world right now that's causing days to go by faster. But I don't know though, like what other people or like what the chat thinks about that. But some days I feel like time moves incredibly fast, but this week to me, just because I feel like I did so much in like thought about so much, and like I was so busy, but like focused on other things that honestly this week has felt like 6 months to me. It's felt like a long time.
I messed up, man, the whole time. I haven't had the little gate going.
Oh no.
I blew it. My bad. If you came for the gate, it's back on now. But yeah, and I think a lot of it is just the nonstop, constant stream of information. So you're, like we were saying earlier, you're consistently plugged in or whatever, and your brain is constantly processing information. So yeah, all that time you thought you had before, you still have the same time, I think, but it was just being occupied on like idle tasks of, Facebook or whatever, these little things you were doing, Amazon or anywhere, you just kind of scrolled that time away. So on the one hand, I do feel like, just personally me, I feel like, yeah, I feel like time is getting shorter, but then on the other hand, it's like how could it be when the seasons and everything are still lining up? And it's just me, especially, I'm spending too much time on the phone and computer and stuff too, so that's probably why it seems like it's going faster to me.
Yeah, exactly. And I think a big reason for that is because now more than ever, and not for everybody, obviously, but for most people and a lot of people, I think we're looking at our screen more than ever just because of all of the stuff going on in the world right now and all of the narratives being pushed through, and we all want to like look at it and see what's happening next. And like I get into it sometimes too, wanting to see what the next move is going to be, because it is interesting sometimes, and it is obviously very interesting to think about it and like why this narrative and why that narrative. But I think a lot of it is because we're so much more engrossed in it now than maybe even like, let's say, 10 years ago. That's probably also a big reason why people feel like time is speeding up.
Yeah, I think it's could go hand in hand. I'll look it up right now, but maybe with the introduction of smartphones, or not introduction, but the more widestream acceptance of smartphones, because I didn't have a smartphone for a long time. And I'm gonna look it up, but
Oh my God, yeah, I didn't either until like pretty recently. And I had, if anyone else has this experience too, I had perfect eyesight before the smartphone. And then like 6 months again after I got the smartphone, my sight just like got really bad and I had to get glasses.
yeah, I don't. What year is this? This one's from 2021. It says 85% are smartphones, and that it was 35% in 2011. So that's exactly what I was thinking. I was thinking around 2012 or something is when things kind of seemed to speed up to me, and that would kind of coincide. You've had that jump in smartphone usage in 10 years, and this thing going up
Yeah, wow.
50% basically. And it goes along with the Terrence McKenna. Whether, no matter what you think of him, is it a lifetime actor? Is it the same guy that played Ted Kaczynski, the Unabomber? All that stuff. It doesn't matter. Terrence McKenna had the concept that he called time wave zero. That he said time was like kind of water going down a drain, and as it gets closer to this 0 point of time, it's gonna like circle around itself faster and faster and faster and faster. And then what he called that event horizon type singularity, whatever you want to call it, he called that the maximum point of novelty, where things would kind of break down more and more and seem like almost like what you're experiencing now. He was saying it would be like more and more clown world until you get to the point of like ultimate novelty. And then I think, if I remember correct, it's been a while since I looked into it, and then I think it's like the time starts going out the other side of the drain, you know what I mean? So it'd be fast, but coming out the other side, and then slowly start slowing down again. But I'm gonna look that up if you have anything to say about that.
No, just
And again, real quick, sorry, but like I said, it doesn't matter what you believe on him. Like all these characters they put in front of you, like Stephen Hawking's and everything like that. Like, come on, obviously that's a joke, but I think everything they talk about is an allegory. So,
I believe so too. Yeah.
so
A
not
lot
that
of
I
it.
believe that would be real. I just want to make that clear.
Yeah. Oh yeah, well, I guess just I'd be curious if people would feel like time is speeding up if we were like waking up early in the morning and just like working on a farm all day or that type of thing. Or like even for people that listen to this later that don't spend much time on the phone and are doing some type of physical labor all day or anything like that, how do you experience time? Or if there's just people that don't really look at the information, because I'm sure it's different for everyone.
Yeah, and it says right here's a good quick explanation of that time wave zero off the internet. It just says, yeah, as you got closer to zero on the graph, the more novelty would occur, including synchronicity, which I've noticed that myself too. Or is that just something? Do you think that that's something that you're gonna see more and more of as you have more of like expand your consciousness or whatever you want to call it?
Yeah, personally for me, synchronicity is more when you're in touch with God and you start to see life differently, because you will start to see signs and kind of how God talks to you through different avenues, because God's going to talk to you how God is going to talk to you. And God, like I think I said this last time, like God uses what he wants to use, whether it's, you know, a book you see, a person you meet, something that happens. So I think synchronicity has a lot to do with that. And then when you quiet down yourself enough to be able to listen to that and learn how to listen to that, I think that's what synchronicity is.
I'm pulling up more articles on that time wave zero, and it just says too like that. McKenna says it said it was two time is created by two opposing waves basically, one conservative like the law of conservation and the other one creative, so two opposing forces create time basically is what he was saying. So I don't know how that, if it even does factor into it. I mean, the dude was just a druggie anyway, so.
Remember that thing everybody loved to talk about a while back when it's like you were cool and edgy if you were one of those people that said, well, time doesn't exist? What do you think
Yeah,
about that? What do you think about the whole existence of time, or what time even is?
I
Because I
think
think
that's
the
some
way
I think that's some shit people that don't have kids say. Time doesn't exist. Yeah, time does exist.
yeah,
What about people that say like, oh yeah, that time just it's basically they'll say you can tap into the future or the past because it's already happened or something like that. I don't know if I'm saying it right, but that's like some determinist
yeah,
viewpoint, and
no, I don't
everything's
believe
written in
that.
stone. And yeah, I don't believe that either.
No. Yeah, I don't know what else to say about that. I think it's just, no, you can't experience them all at once. I mean, the only way you can do, you can obviously reminisce on the past. You can't go back there physically and change things.
That's
Sometimes you can perceive the future, like if you have an understanding of something. I think the way a lot of people think like psychic things work is not exactly how it works. I think when you kind of have a pretty broad understanding of things, it gets very easy to predict behavior patterns or just patterns in general, which for some people I think is more of an intellectual thing. Obviously, there are people who feel it more in like a, what do you want to call it, like emotional intuition type realm.
Yeah, and that's what all this tech is all about. Basically, it's all about creating like a digital godhead. So they have all this information on you, they have the profiles on you, and they have what they call your digital voodoo doll, and then they can just simulate everything out into the near future. And like you said, man, I think the human being's very predictable.
Yes.
And so they're able to use the people that run the show here, they're able to use those computer generated simulations and then to help them plot their next move. So maybe that's part of where time seems like it's speeding up too, is that you do get stuck in these loops, whether you're just scrolling mindlessly on your phone or like even me, like when I go to these same stores, I go to, I park in like the same spot every time, I drive the same route there every time and like stuff like that. So I think one of the ways you could kind of offset the controller's control to this place that we're in is to do more unpredictable things, even if it's something as little as like driving to the store, you usually go to a different way or something. You know what I mean? Just small little things like that. And I think if more people did that, and it's a way to help you kind of live in the moment more and experience it more, and then it won't. Maybe if you did more stuff like that, you wouldn't feel like time's speeding by you as fast because you're not going to perceive it. It just kind of becomes when you do the same thing over and over and over, it just loses its novelty basically.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that is a good way to kind of step away from that. Because we just train ourselves to go into that autopilot phase, and then it just becomes like literally this algorithm
Yeah, I
that
mean,
you're in, and then
how many times have you been driving and all of a sudden you just wake up like, oh man, I've been driving like 20 minutes and I don't even remember the last 20 minutes, you know what I mean?
oh my
That's what
god.
they're counting on when they're running these simulations out and predicting everything that's going to happen.
Yeah, exactly. So
So okay, do you think time is speeding up then or no?
I think the perception of time has been altered to head in that direction.
And what would if these information controllers are, if that's what they want, what would they gain from that, do you think?
I think it is what kind of like what I already said is to push people into that mindless state of just going with the motions, because then you're not really using your brain. You're just using that sensory reactionary part of yourself, that autopilot muscle memory part of yourself to live life. You're not experiencing it per se.
I feel you. And then the next thing you know, you've been at a job for 25 years and your life's over. You just
Yeah.
get stuck in that pattern,
So
that
the
loop.
yeah, exactly. So I think the end goal here is really they're trying to steal your time, your life. All of that time you could have been using to do things in your life to experience, actually experience your life.
And a big part of that is even what we're creating this now, or the people that are consuming it later, what you'd call, truth community or whatever. That's a big part of it, is what I think too, is that they want you. It doesn't matter. I think they don't care what you do. They don't care what kind of truths you're dropping or anything like that. I think they just want people interacting with the screen and through the digital realm
Yes.
rather than acting in person.
Yeah, there's something for everyone too. It's like there's the atheist group, the science
Yeah.
worshiper group, the Christianity group, you know.
Yeah, there's like an r/Reddit for like anything you can think of, like
Yeah.
entire communities about anything where you can, cooking, whatever, and you can just interact with that all day, every day, and there's just continuous new information for you to consume.
Yeah, exactly. And I think ultimately we're put here to have a human experience. And I think what happens is they try to steal the human experience by just making you into this empty shell and almost like animal, just kind of reacting, not thinking, not living, not even really feeling your own feelings too, if you think about it, because so much of what they put in front of you, it's just a knee-jerk reactionary feeling to like the stimuli they're putting in front of you.
Outrage bait.
Yeah, outrage bait.
Yeah, they want your time, they want your outrage, they want your prayers,
Yes.
and they don't want you to just go fishing with your kids, I think. Turn this damn thing off, take your kids, go fishing.
Curse
You
you, fishing license.
you think about it, like if you have any memories like that from being a kid, that those are probably some of your best memories, is things that didn't really cost much money or anything, just experiences you had with family members or people you loved and stuff like that.
Yeah, exactly.
And then they have this entire industry now, and the phone and everything coming out surrounding you, and constantly begging for your interaction. So to me, if you want to take this one more step further, to me I feel like it's almost like the digital frequencies or whatever you want to call them is almost like alive and sentient, or the internet, whatever you want to call it, not just the internet, but and I think the whole thing somehow comes down to like biology versus technology.
It's someone trying to create the artificial soul, like the pattern of the human soul and like spirit and even the neurochemistry in the brain and how that works. It's wanting to
Yeah,
play God
that's what I
because
was saying. Yeah, they want
yeah,
to create like this digital godhead and everything, biology versus technology, and I think it's that once you understand that biology is like the ultimate form of technology, no matter what, would never be able to reach that,
yes.
and that's what it wants to do. Like you'll never have like a digital brain or an AI or any of the stuff they got you programmed. They got people believing like AI and all these quantum computers is gonna be able to, replace human beings. There's no way you could ever replace a well trained human being. But they've dumbed people down so far now. People can't understand. A person can be trained that good to do something and make decisions on the fly. If they had the right kind of training, people are just too dumb now. They can't even operate in a regular machine or anything. And they want you to rely on that. And eventually, it's going to go to like a full. I would say it's not far fetched to think that where they want to go to is full AI like governments in the future. Like AI, like you go to court, it's going to be an AI judge. You'll put in all your little information or whatever, your little plead your case, and then the other side will plead their case, and the AI judge will spit out a result, and then people will just believe, like Google, they'll just believe it's an oracle that can never be wrong. And then you'll have an AI government, government as a service and everything like that. So I think these machines will be replacing people in all these aspects, and then it's really will be like, it sounds grim, but it'll be like some Terminator, rise of the machines type thing where you're being controlled basically by machines. But you got to remember those machines were always programmed by men, and they can never like think outside of their box, and they can only perform the tasks as they've been programmed to, no matter what they tell you about like machine learning or any of that stuff.
Yeah, wow. I think what you said was really important too about how it'll be like an AI system where you bring it to a judge because if you think about it in the way the corporations are right now, it's already pretty much that. It's exactly like that because the people are so trained to just react in that robotic way.
Yep.
So it's in the like experiment phase of okay, we have the humans to do this. So once we completely invert the human, the human then becomes obsolete, and then we can segue into this. And I think because we talk a lot about that, like all of these distraction tactics and things they try to feed you are meant to invert your human nature. But I think that's why they want to invert your human nature. It's kind of like going even further.
So I think one of the solutions, I already mentioned it, but just do things out of your loop, out of your little pattern that you're so used to normally doing. I mean, me included, because like I said, man, I do the same routes and everything everywhere. I need to myself practice what I preach and like just
Yeah.
switch it up even just a little bit.
Oh yeah, it's so easy to fall into that too, because we're all trained to do it at this point. It's kind of hard to break out of it because most of the time you don't even realize you're doing it.
Okay, anything else you wanted to talk about on here?
No, I think I'm good. Thanks for bearing with me. I'm very tired. I feel like I can't articulate thoughts, but
Yeah,
thank you anyway.
I'm tired too. If you're watching this later on maybe the Conspirotainment Radio Network, like I said, just go follow Chalk Body Outline on YouTube. Backup channels called Get Chalked Up. I go live every Friday by myself, every Saturday, pre-recorded here on the Vocal Fry podcast with Layla, and then every Sunday with Ben on D Live. This week we're gonna switch it up and see if it works better. We're gonna go a little earlier tomorrow on dlive.tv/chalkbodyoutline. We're gonna start at 8 p.m. Eastern, 7 Central tomorrow, and have hopefully some callers call in, and we'll see if this time works a little better because we were doing it later before. We're gonna try to get more people in there.
Yeah, thank you everyone. Thanks for listening. Thanks for bearing with us. We're both very tired, like we said.
Yeah, and if you guys got any like topics or things you want us to maybe touch on or talk about in future shows, feel free to leave them in the comments, and I'd love to hear your guys' experience with time as well. If is it speeding up for you, and what do you think causes it if it is?
Yeah, definitely. I would love to hear feedback on that and what you think about the tech and all of it.
All right. Yeah, thanks for being here. I appreciate your time.
Yeah, peace out. Have a good night.